Living with NF1. How Did You Not Know? By Coda Coleman. When people become parents, they usually want to know everything about their baby's health. These days, many have tests done to get the full picture of their child's health and understand how to better care for them. Most people understand that basic healthy practices are incorporating fruits and vegetables into the diet, adding exercise, and plenty of time away from the screens. However, there are sometimes unknown surprises, and parents are not always best equipped to recognize early signs of diseases or other health issues. With this lack of knowledge, some children can fall through the cracks. So what does a parent really know? This digital story will cover a more personal experience that I don't typically talk about in relation to health competency in parents and material covered in our text. As a little girl, I was diagnosed with NF1. Neurofibromatosis type 1 is a genetic condition that causes tumors to grow along your nerves. The tumors are usually non-cancerous but may cause a range of symptoms. These symptoms can include flat light brown spots on the skin known as cafe au lait spots. And this is an actual picture of one that is on my shoulder. This is a reference picture just to compare to the one that I have on my shoulder. They look very similar. Another symptom is leash nodules, which are tiny bumps on the iris of the eye, which can be seen in this picture of my left eye. Freckling in the armpits or groin area is another common symptom. People with NF1 can also exhibit soft, pea-sized bumps on or under the skin, known as neurofibromas. And they can also develop learning disabilities, among other common symptoms. Some of these conditions sound familiar from Dr. Pimple Popper, and it's honestly an accurate representation of what this disease can look like. I am fortunate to have very mild symptoms, which makes my disease unrecognizable to the naked eye. This disease was first discovered when I was rushed to the ER for constipation issues. From there, I was referred to a pediatric gastrointestinal doctor who noticed all of my cafe au lait spots and asked my mother if anyone had ever pointed them out before. He advised my mother that they were not birthmarks and that I should go get them checked out. He referred us to a geneticist where I received brain scans and MRIs. Being that other common symptoms of this disease are hydrocephalus, which is water on the brain, mental delays and illness, along with physical deformities manifesting later in life. However, everything seemed to be normal. My doctor stated that it was likely from a genetic mutation and not passed down from my parents, but it could be passed to my children. With this information, I was suggested to adjust my diet by staying away from red meat and cutting back on dairy. But my primary caretaker had poor health competency and chose to enable my pickiness with food rather than forcing me into a healthier lifestyle. Health competency describes the ability to apply and demonstrate appropriate knowledge, skills, and behaviors in and of a clinical setting. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says that when parents and caregivers understand health information and how to use it, children are more likely to miss fewer days of school, make fewer trips to the pediatrician and ER, live healthier lives, get preventative care like flu shots, and have a safe home where fewer accidents happen. Being that my mother was the one who attended the majority of my appointments and listened to the doctor's advice, my father didn't have the same access to that information. He was scared to go to the doctor himself, and even if he did, he would have had trouble understanding what the doctor was communicating. This sheds light on the issue of not having a standard of health competence equally across all cultures, and puts an emphasis on the lack of teaching within certain communities. If my father had better awareness of my disease instead of trying to avoid it altogether, he would have helped me and not hurt me in the long run. If doctors were more involved on a personal level, like psychiatrists and counselors, there could have been suggestions made to combat the disciplinary issues at home. According to Tulane University School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine, when healthcare providers fail to recognize the differences between them and their patients, they may inadvertently deliver lower quality care. Cultivating skills that improve cross-cultural communication can play an important role in delivering equitable care. To be fair, the responsibility doesn't all fall on the doctor, but also the lack of involvement and understanding for my father. As a parent, he could have asked for help understanding forms, asked for handouts, wrote down questions before visits, or told the doctor he didn't understand. If health competency was taught in schools as part of regular curriculum, maybe the outcome could have been different. Today, I still look as normal as I ever did, but I still struggle with stomach issues. Luckily, I have outgrown my pickiness and have incorporated some healthier foods into my diet. As I learn how to be more aware of my health, so does my father, and hopefully this learning process will eventually start in the educational system and not in adulthood. As for me, this disease is still so far in the back of my mind because it's not something that is impactful, really. I feel like I'm lucky to not experience the full potential of this disease, and I would need further advice on what the possibility is of that changing for anyone I give the gene to. An interesting fact about my disease is it's unknown why the disorder results in sporadic changes in the NF1 gene, which is found on chromosome 17 for 50% of the people who have it. Those individuals did not inherit NF1 from their parents, but instead are the first in their family to have it. With other patients, NF1 is inherited in an autosomal dominant pattern, which means that each child of an affected parent carries a 50% risk of inheriting the disease. NF1 does not skip generations. In my case, I am part of the 50% that did not inherit the gene from my parents. For now, I will continue to appreciate my ability to share my experience and still live a seemingly normal life. Hopefully there will be more information and maybe even prevention for these kinds of genetic diseases